All right, get ready to dive into the world of retail because today we're looking at Walmart.
Walmart?
You got it. Specifically, their third quarter performance for fiscal year 2025.
Okay.
And you've given us a ton of info to unpack here.
Yeah.
The official Form 8K,
Right.
a press release highlighting the key points,
Of course.
and a super detailed financial presentation.
Cool.
So get ready for some retail revelations.
I am ready.
Yeah. Now, it's really fascinating to me how all of these different sources kind of offer unique perspectives.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
We have the 8K, which gives us like that raw data.
The raw data, yeah.
Then the press release, which is like the carefully crafted narrative.
Yeah.
And then this presentation, which has all the visuals that help investors really like grasp the bigger picture.
Yeah, I think by comparing all three, we can kind of get a sense of what they're trying to emphasize, you know?
Totally. So our mission today is to decode these documents,
Right.
to understand not just what the numbers say,
Uh-huh.
but what they mean. So let's start with that Form 8K, which was filed November 19th, 2024.
Okay.
It's the official record,
Yeah.
but let's be honest.
Yeah.
It's not exactly a page-turner.
No, not really.
That's pretty dead.
It's like the fine print, but for a multi-billion-dollar company.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
It's like they're publicly releasing their performance for Q3.
Uh-huh.
And then it directs us to the really fun stuff like the press release and the presentations.
All right, so let's get to the good stuff.
Okay.
Let's dive into those juicy bits.
All right, let's do it.
The headlines are pretty eye-catching.
Yeah.
Revenue hit a whopping $169.6 billion.
Wow.
That's a 5.5% jump compared to last year.
That's huge. Especially when so many retailers are kind of struggling to keep up right now.
Yeah.
This tells us that Walmart is not just surviving.
Yeah.
They are thriving.
Exactly.
The question is how?
Right.
Is it just their reputation for low prices, or is there something more going on?
Well, the press release makes a big deal about their e-commerce growth.
Yep.
Globally, online sales surged by 27%.
Wow.
So maybe that's how they're adapting to how people shop these days.
Absolutely. Walmart's not your grandma's discount store anymore.
Right.
They're going head-to-head with online giants like Amazon,
Mm-hmm.
and they are winning.
Yeah.
This growth online also kind of helps offset any slowdowns they might be seeing in their physical stores as well.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Yeah.
And it's not just about sales. Their profits are up, too.
Okay.
Operating income grew even faster than revenue by 8.2%.
So what does that tell us?
Well, to me, that
Yeah.
shows efficiency.
Yeah.
They're keeping costs in check while also boosting sales.
Yeah, that makes investors very happy.
Right, exactly.
It's a sign of a well-oiled machine,
Yeah.
for sure.
So they're feeling pretty good about themselves because they've actually raised their guidance for the entire fiscal year.
Oh, wow.
They're expecting this growth to continue.
So raising guidance is a bold move.
Yeah.
They're basically telling the market, we are confident we can outperform our own expectations. This kind of optimism can really influence how investors view the company.
Okay, so overall, Walmart's looking pretty strong.
Yeah.
But let's break it down a bit.
Okay.
First up, Walmart U.S., the heart of their operation.
Okay.
So what's the story there?
I think this is where we see those core drivers of Walmart's success, you know?
Okay.
And their U.S. performance gives us like valuable insight into their overall strategy
Yeah.
and how the American consumer is behaving these days.
And that heart is beating strong. Comparable store sales, which basically means sales at stores open for at least a year,
Right.
are up 5.3%.
Okay.
So they're not just growing, they're grabbing market share.
Yeah.
And get this, they're attracting higher income shoppers too.
Now that's interesting.
Yeah.
It suggests that their value proposition is resonating with a much broader range of customers than ever before.
Yeah.
Maybe people are kind of getting more cautious about spending with all the economic uncertainty we're seeing.
Right. It's not just about attracting new customers, though. They're also seeing an increase in both the number of shoppers and the amount of stuff they're buying.
Oh, wow.
More transactions, bigger baskets.
Yeah, that's a powerful combination.
That's a winning combo.
It tells us that existing customers are spending more
Yeah.
and maybe buying a wider range of products too.
Makes sense.
You know, this really speaks to Walmart's ability to be that one-stop shop
Yeah.
for everything from groceries to home goods.
And let's not forget about their online engine.
Right.
E-commerce in the U.S. grew by 22%,
Okay.
fueled by those convenient in-store pickup and delivery options.
Yeah,
That just seems like a really smart move to me.
absolutely. They're leveraging their massive network of stores
Right.
as like these mini fulfillment centers.
Uh-huh.
This gives them a huge logistical advantage
Yeah.
over online-only retailers.
Makes it super convenient for the customer.
Yeah. And I bet it saves them a ton on shipping costs, too.
Oh, for sure. Compared to shipping everything from a massive warehouse.
Yeah.
And then there's Walmart Connect, their advertising platform,
Yeah.
which is exploding, by the way. Revenue's up 26%.
Wow.
It seems like those third-party marketplace sellers are playing a really big role in that success.
So it's like they're creating a bustling digital marketplace within their ecosystem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
More
sellers mean more products,
Right.
which attracts more shoppers.
Yeah.
And those shoppers become a valuable audience for advertisers.
Exactly.
It's brilliant. It's a brilliant strategy for diversifying their revenue stream.
But it's not all sunshine and rainbows, right?
Right.
The report also mentions rising expenses,
Okay.
hurricane recovery costs, increased marketing spend. Those things are putting a dent in their profitability.
Right. Even a giant like Walmart can't escape
Yeah.
real-world events.
Yeah.
Or the need to invest for future growth.
Yeah.
The hurricane costs are unavoidable.
Of course.
And that increased marketing spend suggests that they're being pretty aggressive
Yeah.
in their efforts to attract and retain customers.
So it's a bit of a balancing act.
Yeah.
Trying to grow revenue and market share while also keeping a lid on those rising expenses.
Exactly. The big question is whether those investments will pay off in the long run.
Okay, so that's the U.S. picture. But Walmart's a global player.
Right.
What's happening internationally?
Now, that's where things get really interesting.
Okay.
Their international business is booming.
Uh-huh.
Revenue's up by a staggering 12.4% in constant currency.
Wow, that's huge.
And that's excluding any impact from currency fluctuations, too.
Okay, so which markets are driving that growth?
Flipkart in India,
Okay.
Walmex in Mexico,
Uh-huh.
and their operations in China are the real stars of the show.
Okay.
They're each kind of adapting to the unique dynamics of their own markets.
And just like in the U.S., e-commerce is soaring internationally, too.
Yeah.
43% growth in online sales.
Wow.
It seems like their global e-commerce strategy is really working.
It definitely seems to be. And
Yeah.
again, their focus on marketplace sellers and leveraging stores for fulfillment is really key to this success.
Makes sense.
They're replicating what works in the U.S. and adapting it to local preferences.
Speaking of adapting, there's one interesting detail about Flipkart.
Okay.
Their massive sales event, Big Billion Days, was moved
Oh, yeah.
from the fourth quarter last year to the third quarter this year.
Right.
So that's going to make those year-over-year comparisons a little tricky.
It is. It's a good reminder that you can't always take those year-over-year comparisons at face value.
Right.
Sometimes you have to dig a little deeper to understand what's really driving the numbers.
But even with those calendar shifts, the overall picture for Walmart International is pretty rosy.
It is.
Operating income is up, and the losses that they've been incurring in e-commerce are shrinking.
It's a good sign that they're not just growing internationally,
Right.
but becoming more profitable, too.
Yeah.
Their global expansion strategy is really gaining some traction.
Okay, so before we move on to Sam's Club
Yep.
and those future predictions, let's just pause here for a second.
Sounds good to me.
What are your initial thoughts?
Hmm.
Anything jumping out at you from this first look?
Well, I mean, Walmart is just firing on all cylinders right now.
They are.
Strong growth in both the U.S. and international markets.
Okay.
Profits are up,
Yeah,
and they're making really smart moves in e-commerce.
they are.
It's impressive for sure.
It is, but they're not without challenges, right? Rising expenses, a potential economic slowdown. Those are things they can't ignore.
Absolutely. And let's not forget about that extra week in fiscal year 2025.
Right.
It kind of throws a wrench into those comparable sales numbers.
Yeah.
It's something investors need to keep in mind when comparing performance year over year.
Okay, good point. But even with that extra week,
Yeah,
their predictions are pretty optimistic.
they are.
They're projecting growth across the board.
Yeah,
It's not like they're just hoping for a rising tide to lift all boats.
right.
They're actively making choices. Strategic choices to grab market share.
Exactly. Like, take their focus on attracting higher income shoppers in the U.S.
Right.
They're not just competing on price anymore.
Yeah.
They're really emphasizing convenience, quality,
Yeah.
and a broader selection of products.
And it seems to be working.
It does.
Those
And learn what resonates with different types of customers.
So they're using their size as a weapon in the retail wars.
Precisely.
Mm-hmm.
They can pour money into e-commerce,
Yeah.
logistics technology,
Yeah.
in a way that smaller competitors just can't match.
Right.
And that investment is paying off.
Literally.
Literally, as we see with their impressive online sales growth.
But it's not all smooth sailing.
Right.
Those hurricane recovery costs
Yeah.
and increased marketing spend are definitely headwinds they'll have to navigate.
Absolutely. No business is immune to those kinds of external shocks
Yeah.
or the need to invest for future growth.
Right.
The key is how effectively they manage those costs and whether those investments actually generate a positive return.
So it's constant push and pull
It is.
between growth and profitability.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And their guidance suggests that they believe they can strike that balance.
Okay.
They're projecting solid revenue growth and continued improvement in operating income,
Yeah.
which are all signs of a healthy and sustainable business.
But remember what they said. The consumer environment can change on a dime.
Yeah, that's true.
What happens if the economy takes a turn for the worse?
Right.
Will Walmart's value-focused strategy be enough to keep shoppers coming back?
That is the billion-dollar question.
It is.
If consumers really start tightening their belts,
Yeah.
Walmart's reputation for low prices could become even more of a draw.
Yeah.
But they can't just rest on their laurels.
Right.
They need to constantly adapt to changing consumer needs and preferences.
So what should we be watching for in the coming months?
Okay.
What are the key indicators that Walmart is staying ahead of the curve?
I think keep a close eye on those e-commerce sales figures.
Okay.
Continued strong growth online is crucial. It's a sign that they're winning in this increasingly competitive digital marketplace.
What about profitability?
Okay.
Are they effectively managing those rising expenses we talked about?
I think operating margins are a good indicator of that.
Okay.
It shows how well they're controlling costs while also growing revenue.
Yeah.
We'll want to see that margin remain healthy.
And what about their international operations?
Okay.
Can they maintain that impressive growth momentum?
Yeah.
Especially in those key markets like Flipkart and China.
That's going to be fascinating to watch.
Yeah.
International expansion is a major part of Walmart's long-term strategy, but it also comes with its own unique challenges.
Of course.
They'll need to continue adapting to local tastes and navigating these complex regulatory environments in all these different countries.
It sounds like Walmart's playing a high-stakes game of global chess.
It does.
They're making bold moves, but facing some pretty tough competition.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It'll be really interesting to see how their strategy evolves in the face of these challenges.
Okay, so before we get ahead of ourselves and start making predictions about the future, let's zoom in on some specific numbers from their report.
Okay.
Sometimes the real insights are hiding in those details.
I completely agree.
Let's roll up our sleeves and see what we can find.
All right, let's do it.
Let's pull up their consolidated statement of income.
Okay.
Revenue's up, but how are they doing on the expense side of things?
Okay.
Are those rising costs starting to eat into their profits?
Well, one thing that jumps out immediately is that their net income has skyrocketed.
Okay.
We're talking a 910.4% increase year over year.
Whoa, 910%. That's a massive jump.
It is.
Is that sustainable, or is it a one-time blip?
Remember those unrealized and realized gains and losses
Yeah.
on their equity and other investments that we mentioned earlier?
Right.
Those play a significant role in this huge jump in net income.
Okay.
So they sold their investment in JD.com in August, which resulted in a realized loss.
Okay.
But that loss was offset by an increase in the value of their investment in Symbotic.
So it's a mixed bag with those investments. Some are performing well, while others are dragging down the bottom line.
Right.
What about their core retail operations?
Right.
How are those contributing to the overall profit picture?
If we focus on operating income,
Okay.
which reflects their core retail business, we see a healthy increase of 8.2%.
Okay.
And that's driven by a combination of factors, including higher gross margins and growth in membership income. They're also benefiting from reduced losses in e-commerce, which suggests that their digital strategy is becoming more efficient.
So that's encouraging.
Yeah.
It sounds like they're making progress on multiple fronts, but they're also facing some headwinds, right?
Right.
Those rising expenses could eat into their profits if they're not careful.
You're right. Those hurricane recovery costs,
Yeah.
increased marketing spend, and higher wages all need to be watched closely.
Yeah.
But Walmart seems to be managing those expenses effectively so far. Their guidance suggests they're confident in their ability to maintain a healthy profit margin.
It's impressive how they're able to balance these competing forces.
Yeah.
They're investing heavily in growth initiatives while also keeping a close eye on the bottom line.
Yeah.
It's a delicate dance, but they seem to be pulling it off.
And don't forget about the global aspect of their business.
Right.
Walmart International is a major growth engine. And their recent performance shows that they're making smart moves in those key markets.
They're not afraid to take risks and experiment.
Right.
Remember that timing shift of Flipkart's big billion days?
Exactly.
They're willing to shake things up to seize opportunities.
Absolutely. And it's not just about top-line growth.
Right.
They're focused on improving profitability in their international operations as well.
Yeah.
Those shrinking e-commerce losses are a good sign that their global digital strategy is on the right track.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here.
We have.
Walmart is firing on all cylinders.
It seems like it.
Strong growth. Yeah.
Rising profits. Solid balance sheet.
Yeah.
What could possibly go wrong?
Well, that's the eternal question for any business, isn't it?
It is.
No company is completely immune to unforeseen challenges.
Right.
You know, the economy could take a downturn.
Yeah.
Consumer preferences could change rapidly.
Right.
Or new competitors could emerge.
So what's the takeaway for our listeners? Should they be rushing out to buy Walmart stock based on this stellar performance?
Well, I'm not in the business of giving financial advice.
Of course.
But Walmart's current performance is certainly impressive.
It is.
You know, they're a well-managed company with a clear strategy and a proven track record of execution.
Yeah.
But it's always wise to do your own research and consider all of the potential risks before making any investment decisions.
That's a really good point.
Yeah.
So after diving deep into all these financial reports, what stands out to you as the most important takeaway for our listeners? I think for me, it's Walmart's remarkable ability to adapt and innovate.
Yeah.
You know, they're not resting on their laurels as this retail giant.
Right.
They're fully embracing e-commerce, expanding aggressively into international markets, constantly experimenting with new ways to better serve their customers.
Yeah.
You know, that kind of dynamism is a really powerful recipe for success in the long run.
I completely agree.
Yeah.
Okay, that brings us to the end of our deep dive into Walmart's Q3 2025 earnings report.
Right.
We've covered a lot of ground.
We have.
From those big picture headlines to the nitty-gritty details. Hopefully you now have a clearer understanding of not just what Walmart is doing, but why it matters.
Absolutely. And as always, there's always more to explore. You know, what will Walmart's evolving strategy mean for the broader retail landscape? Will they continue to kind of reshape the way we shop, both online and offline?
Right.
These are questions worth pondering as we watch this retail giant continue to evolve.
It's definitely something to think about.
Yeah.
Okay, that wraps up our deep dive for today.
Okay.
Thanks for joining us.
Yeah.
And until next time,
happy diving.
So we're looking at this 910% increase in net income.
Yeah.
That's a crazy number.
It is.
But you're saying it's not as simple as it looks.
Right. It's not quite as straightforward because of those investment gains and losses.
Right, right.
Those investments, they can really swing things. You know, sometimes they boost profits. Sometimes they hold them back.
Right.
It's really important to look beyond those one-time events and focus on the underlying performance of their core business.
Okay, so if we set aside those investment fluctuations for a second, how is Walmart's core retail business actually doing?
I think their operating income gives us a much clearer picture of that.
Okay.
And it's up by a healthy 8.2%.
Okay.
So that's a solid sign that their core retail operations are strong and efficient.
What's driving that growth in operating income?
Well,
is it just higher sales, or are there other factors at play?
It's a combination of things.
Okay.
Higher gross margins are a big contributor.
Okay.
So basically, they're making more profit on each item they sell.
Makes sense.
We're also seeing strong growth in membership income.
Okay.
Especially from Sam's Club. And their e-commerce business is becoming more profitable as well, with those losses shrinking.
So even with those rising expenses that we talked about earlier, they're still managing to improve their profitability.
They are.
That's impressive.
It is. It shows that they're really walking that tightrope between investing for future growth and keeping a tight grip on their costs.
Yeah, they're making strategic decisions that are paying off.
They are.
Okay, let's shift gears for a moment and talk about Sam's Club.
Okay.
It's often kind of overshadowed by the giant that is Walmart U.S.
Right.
But it's a significant part of their business, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Sam's Club has this unique business model.
Yeah.
Catering to a specific type of shopper. Those bulk buys and membership perks really appeal to value-conscious consumers and businesses alike.
And it seems like that model is working pretty well.
It does.
Their sales are up, even if we exclude fuel sales, which can be very volatile.
They can be.
What's driving that growth?
Well, more people are shopping at Sam's Club.
Okay.
We're seeing strong transaction growth, which means they're attracting new members and encouraging existing members to shop more frequently.
And even though they're not as focused on e-commerce as Walmart U.S., Sam's Club is seeing decent growth online too, right?
They are. E-commerce sales are up 26%.
Wow.
And they're leveraging their strengths by focusing on click and collect.
Okay.
Which is a smart strategy for them.
Yeah.
People can order those bulky items online and conveniently pick them up at the store.
But they did raise wages for Sam's Club employees.
Right.
Which will impact their profit.
It will. That's definitely something to keep in mind.
Yeah.
It's a move that benefits their employees.
Of course.
But it also adds to their expenses.
Yeah.
The key will be finding that balance between investing in their workforce and maintaining those healthy profits.
So overall, Walmart is firing on all cylinders.
Yeah, it seems to be.
But as we've discussed, there are always challenges and uncertainties lurking around the corner.
Always.
So what should our listeners be paying attention to as we move into the next quarter and beyond?
Okay, well, I think it's crucial to keep an eye on a few key things. Yeah. First, how are they managing those rising expenses? Are they able to control costs without sacrificing growth?
Okay.
Second, can they maintain their momentum in e-commerce?
Yeah.
Both in the U.S. and internationally.
Right.
That's going to be a key battleground in the retail world.
It is.
And finally, how will they navigate any potential economic headwinds?
Right.
Will their focus on value be enough to kind of weather the storm?
Yeah.
If consumer spending slows down?
Those are all great points.
Yeah.
It's a reminder that even a company as dominant as Walmart can't afford to stand still.
No.
They have to keep innovating, adapting, fighting for every customer.
Exactly. Right. The retail landscape is constantly evolving.
Yeah.
And the companies that succeed are the ones that can anticipate those changes and stay one step ahead.
Well, that about wraps up our deep dive
It does.
into Walmart's Q3 2025 earnings report.
Right.
We've covered a lot of ground today.
We have.
Dissecting those financial statements.
Yeah.
Analyzing their strategic moves. And pondering the challenges and opportunities that lie ahead.
Yeah, it's been great.
Hopefully our listeners now have a deeper understanding.
I hope so.
Of not just what those numbers say, but what they mean for Walmart's future.
Exactly. And maybe even some food for thought about the future of retail itself.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
Until next time.